Hey, before this episode gets started, I wanted to make a quick announcement here. We are going to be taking a break from Doctor Who Classic. Oh my gosh, I know. Terrible, fire and brimstone, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. What are we doing? Well, this is not for any terrible reason or anything. Good Omens Season 2 is coming out, and we're going to be focusing on that. So actually, by the time this video goes out, probably we will have already started, but basically we were going to take a week off anyway because we're going on vacation. At time of recording this, we're going on vacation next week. By the time this goes up, it will have already done that. But I've decided, since Good Omens Season 2 is coming out at the end of July, we're just going to do that. And frankly, it's just easier to do that. So I know this does leave us off without watching Time Flight for a little while, the last episode of Season 19. But it's all going to work out, and I think it'll be good for us. I think we'll come back to Time Flight and Season 20. We'll come back refreshed, and with everything, our heads clear, everything will be nice and good as we pop into Season 20 of Doctor Who Classic. So, just a quick announcement. We will be back. I will probably, put a date here or something, or not, I don't know. Stay tuned. Basically, whenever the last episode of Good Omens goes out, expect Season 19 Story 7 of Doctor Who Classic relatively soon after that. And in the meantime, we do have Good Omens Season 2 that you can watch. Hopefully you will go and watch that and enjoy it. I know we're going to enjoy it because we friggin' love Season 1 of Good Omens, so yeah. So if you want to go do that, if you want to go watch that, you can. That'll be coming up soon, or maybe it's already out. I have no idea. Depends on when this video goes out. I'll have to look, but yeah. So, just a quick announcement that I wanted to give before this episode. Please enjoy our second reaction, technically, to Earthshock. Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who Classic. Last time around, we had Black Orchid. What was that one about?
Well, it was a real Agatha Christie type mystery. They landed in Great Britain in 1925. It so happens that Nyssa was the exact double of a young lady in the show. It's one of those mysterious, we've got a person who's been missing for years, later to find out that he's actually been kept captive in the upper rooms of the manor, and there's secret passageways, and there's this, that, and the other thing. Nice dialogue, nice little story. We thought the first episode dragged a little bit, but then of course they had to lay out all the exposition, but then it all picked up in the second. So overall I really liked it. Thought it was very good.
Yeah. And today we are rewatching Earthshock, which we watched long ago, although not as long as Kinda. I actually wonder when did we watch this one. Let me end of 2019.
So 3.5 years ago.
Yeah, so yeah, this one, all I remember is that it has the Cybermen, and I remember the ending.
Yes.
That's kind of it. I don't remember, much of the plot itself.
I vaguely remember they're on a very large spaceship, which, again, we may have made reference at that point that it was starting to look more like the film Alien than the old Star Trek episodes and things like that, because there's a lot of, pipes and steam and things. Anyway, but yes, I remember it was the return of the Cybermen. We haven't seen the Cybermen in a long, long time.
Yeah, since, season 12, I want to say?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's definitely been a while. Also, I want to make this clear. I made a mistake. Quite a shocker. But this one's is an entirely minor mistake. This is not the end of Season 19.
Oh.
We do actually have one more story after this called Time Flight. So we'll be watching that in the next video. I don't know why I didn't realize. I don't know. I figured this was the end of the season.
Yeah.
But it's not. And some people pointed that out in the comments. I think in the comments of the Kinda rewatch, there was someone who pointed that out. So the last 2 weeks I've probably just kept saying it, and people keep putting their comments, but that's fine. So just a quick little correction there, that we do still have one more thing left in this season. So yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much that. You got anything else?
Well, there was quite a lot of to-do over the reactions to Kinda, and we all seem to have forgiven each other for our comments, so we'll just let it go with that.
Yeah, it was, I mean, because I did a thing on Instagram because Twitter is dying a horrible death, so I'm going over to Instagram. I did like a recap, and I put like all the thumbnails from all the videos I uploaded this week, and I did like a little blurb of like, you know, describing every episode real quickly, and I just put like, to no one's surprise, we didn't like the episode we already didn't like. So yeah, I mean, that one was interesting too, because I feel like of all the reactions, of all the controversies we've had, I felt like that was a particularly big one. Yeah. That we didn't like an episode we already didn't like in the first place. But
I thought it was kind of interesting that someone commented that when it first came out, there was like more than 90% of the Doctor Who fandom who didn't like it either, and it's only after rewatching it that they have grown to like it. Now, maybe if we watched it 3 or 4 more times and tried to read into it what other people see into it, but again, just from a standpoint, again, as a person in theater, as a director, as an actor, as a writer, I thought the script was confusing. I thought many of the acting choices were overdone or underdone. Whoever the guy was who was going crazy, I thought he was overdone. I thought that the Doctor was somewhat underdone. There were some good parts to it. I especially enjoyed the indigenous people there on the planet, especially the old woman. But again, overall, it would never. I mean, in everything we've seen so far, it would not be one of my even favorites of any kind. I mean, in my opinion, wouldn't even get a D. But that's just me.
It's just such a strange thing because I do read some of the comments, and I read what are kind of, you know, headcanons or just interpretations of it, and some of it I'm like, you're really stretching to get this point, you know, and some of it is fine. I will say the one that just with no defense will ever work is what the Mara's plan actually was. It's like, yes, it was, you know, because on the surface level, it's, well, he thinks he's going to use a wooden box to defeat the British. When you dive more into it, it's like, well, he knows that the humans and the Kinda will destroy each other, and then he'll just go back to his realm and wait for another civilization to pop up. And it's like, well, that's a little unambitious. Like, I don't know. When you have a character like the Devil, you'd think they would be a bit more proactive. But that's a minor point. But it's just, I don't know. But yeah, but that one was interesting. But what you said about the fandom originally not liking it, that reminds me, there was one story I read, I think it was like Tess of the D'Urbervilles. Have you ever read that?
No.
It's, well, I mean, I can't fully speak to the quality because I read it in a high school English class, so that already accounts for like most of my hatred for that story. But I remember it being a particularly bad story as well. Nobody in the class liked it, but I remember there was something like, well, yeah, when Thomas Hardy, when he originally wrote, you know, his stories like that, originally they were panned by critics and they were hated by most people, but nowadays they're really good. And it's like, I don't know, I think those critics got it right the first time, you know? And so that's kind of, now I'm kind of with, you know, the Doctor Who fans in 1982, like, I don't know, I think he got it right the first time, but...
Yeah, I think Melville's Moby Dick was also critically panned when it first came out, and now, of course, it's like the early American novel.
And we will also say, if you enjoy these stories, that's perfectly fine. You go at it, but it's a bit difficult to change someone's mind about, you know, is it good or not? Because even if you give some of the most detailed explanations, I can still look at it and be like, I don't know, man. He just kind of was crazy from the beginning, you know? But anyway. None of this applies to Earthshock, because we enjoyed Earthshock the first time around, and we'll probably really enjoy it this time around anyway, so...
I see we've still got our crushed sonic screwdrivers here.
Yeah, pretty much we'll keep it that way until he gets another one. So it's going to be like a year, maybe? I don't know.
I don't hardly recognize this one.
That is Peter Capaldi's sonic screwdriver. That is the one where most people said, all right, the design's going a little too far now. So it used to light up and stuff, but I'm sure the battery's dead by now. But
okay.
In fact, I think like most of them, this is 13, yeah, that battery's dead. I think the ones that are just sound are still okay. And then this was the first one I got, which is the 10th Doctor sonic screwdriver, which still lights up at the very least. It used to have a little sound box in there, but that died after like a week. So, but it still lights up, so that's good. And the thing is, I could replace batteries in some of these, but I don't care enough to. So I only get them out once a week to put on a table. So I don't care enough about spending the money on those batteries.
I'm glad you still have your TARDIS. Does it still light up?
That's a good question, actually. Well, I've left it off this whole time, so I would imagine... it does light up.
It goes on way longer than it should.
Okay. Cool. Look, it magically... It worked. It's like the real TARDIS. I'm not going to remember to edit that. So, anywho, we've talked a lot about nothing. So let's talk a lot about Earthshock and not get more comments about Kinda. So here we go.
You must read this, Adric. Black Orchid.
Why?
It's fascinating. Such scholarship.
Why should that interest me?
What's the matter?
I'm fed up.
Why?
I'm tired of being considered a joke.
Oh, no one thinks that.
Then why am I
Well,
constantly
not
teased?
vocally.
There will always be some distraction to prevent it happening.
I give you my word.
Just as you gave your word to Tegan.
That's not fair.
No, it never is when you're being criticised, is it? Just as it's never your fault when something goes wrong.
Have you quite finished?
There's lots more!
Well, it can wait.
Yes, but I can't. I'm tired of being an outsider, Doctor. I want to go back to my own people.
I feel like that conversation got very meta about the about the actor.
E-space is another universe. There isn't a taxi service goes back and forth.
Once I've calculated the course, the journey itself would be simple.
It won't.
Romana's still in E-space. Once I get there, she can help me.
Is it really that dangerous?
Do you really think I'd be making all this fuss if it weren't?
Can I use your computer?
Oh, help yourself. I'm not waiting around while you plot the course to your own destruction.
Boy, they referenced a lot of stuff from a long time ago now.
Yeah. And on first watching, we had no background on any of that.
Nope.
Do you know, I think since his regeneration, he's become decidedly immature.
I'm going outside now. I might be gone some time.
It's weird that he thinks the fourth Doctor was mature.
Fossilized remains have been found all over the planet. Not bad adaptation for a creature with a brain the size of a pea.
How long did they exist?
100 million years or so. They seem so secure, and yet they died out virtually overnight.
Never noticed that before.
The Earth collided with something from space.
An asteroid.
Could be. I don't know. I've always meant to slip back and find out.
I do remember catching that line. You just don't expect where that will actually go by the end of it. I'm sure he was involved in some capacity.
Just for the people who did this.
Shoots them. Shoots them both.
Well, at least they got over the suspicion of the Doctor really quickly.
Destroy them! Destroy them at once!
That was a really good reveal. Because you just don't suspect it. Now, I didn't see in the beginning if it was the original creator of the Cybermen writing it, but even still, we always think about the young kid who who would have been watching this in 1982. They probably wouldn't have remembered that.
Yeah.
So,
we've seen this guy. I think his name is Saward or S-A-W-A-R-D. He's written something else.
Yeah.
This season, I think. But I don't think he's the original creator of the Cybermen.
Now, I do want to make something kind of clear. When we say, boy, they're referencing a lot of stuff from a long time ago, I am still thinking about the kid in 1982. Do they remember some of that stuff? And it's entirely possible, and in fact, it's more than likely that they do remember that. But when they do call back to stuff like that, I know it's in Adric's character. He's from East Space, and that's where you left Romana and everything, but sometimes I think, man, I can't believe they're keeping up that continuity,
Yeah.
And I think part of that, too, is we'll then get other examples, like that episode that had Barbara in it, but she wasn't Barbara. The thought process someone put in the comments on that one is that, well, the producers were like, well, nobody's going to remember Barbara, so it'll be fine if we just have her. And then everyone was like, well, wait a minute, that's Barbara. We know Barbara 20 years later, so...
Yes, but you're right. The average 12 to 14-year-old kid who's watching this for the first time would have been 5 or 6 the last time the Cybermen were on.
Yeah. So there's also that, just the fact that it's a great reveal, but yeah, probably most of the core audience now might not remember who the Cybermen are, or if they do, maybe it was because of reruns or something that they did between seasons. And then, everything here, it's the fact that they're still referencing Romana is great, and that felt so long. I mean, it does... I know we say this season went by quickly, but that feels so long ago that we left her at the end of Warrior's Gate, so... And no other comment on Warrior's Gate right now. I will also say, watching this again, they make it way too obvious about the whole thing with the dinosaurs and the asteroid. They spent a lot of time on that, where I think the first time around we might have suspected that, but at the same time, I don't think we just weren't really thinking about it, So, yeah. And then now we do understand more of Adric's dilemma in this episode. He's the butt of everyone's joke. He doesn't get any respect. He doesn't want to be an outsider, despite the fact that he's technically the most senior companion on the show now.
He's the Rodney Dangerfield of the Doctor Who universe.
Yeah. So
I don't get no respect.
Yeah. And again, I do kind of think that that's a bit of a meta commentary on the fact that nobody liked Matthew Waterhouse. So, I don't know. It is one of those things where I do slightly feel bad, because I mean he was just a kid, So but at the same time I do hear some stuff of oh, Matthew Waterhouse tried to give Peter Davison acting advice, and it's yeah, okay, come on, man. But so yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, but it's also, you do also understand the Doctor's dilemma of he can't just fall back into E-Space on a whim. So, and to him, he's probably thinking, well, if you wanted to stay in E-Space, you should have just stayed with Romana. So, and also androids in a cave and everything. So we didn't talk a lot during that part of the episode with the team in the cave, but we're studying it intently, trying to understand it more now.
It would be nice to know what you're doing.
The arming procedure on the bomb is being operated by remote control.
Can you jam it?
Yes, but not till I know where it's coming from.
His finger on the inside. I think it looks like a big boombox.
I think drastic action is called for.
There can't be much time left. What can we do?
Abandon methodical procedure for blind instinct. Laser cutter. Laser.
Full power.
They've stopped transmitting. The doctor's done it.
But how do they succeed, leader?
They have been helped.
They didn't account for cut the wires.
Whoever.
Emotion, love, pride, hate, fear. Have you no emotion, sir? I imagine you have orders to destroy me.
You've no home planet, no influence, nothing. You're just a pathetic bunch of tin soldiers skulking about the galaxy in an ancient spaceship.
I did not see any of these men in the cave.
It appears it has regenerated again. But
Man, I wish the third Doctor had a Cyberman story.
bombed?
I'm very grateful for your help with deactivating the bomb.
Well, that's all right.
It was very brave of you. Also, the way you tackled the android.
All part of the daily routine.
Do you really want to go home?
No, of course not. There's nothing there for me anymore.
So you've done all these calculations for nothing?
Well, it made a point, didn't it? Besides, who knows? I might change my mind again.
You can go back to the vampire planet now that they're gone.
I just happen to think that the disappearance of 3 crew members is rather important, that's all.
So do I, mister. But it's something that can be settled when we get back to Earth and our cargo's delivered safely, understood? Make ready to get underway. If it makes you any happier, double the patrols. I don't want any mention of this. You're beginning to bore me.
I think the first time around we commented on what an interesting thought it was to have all women commanders there.
You could hide an army down here and no one would find it.
Oh, really? Like Cybermen?
Look, let's go before we're caught and blamed.
I've seen wounds inflicted this way before.
Doctor, we have got to get out of here.
Yes.
On this ship, we execute murderers.
Oh no, you've been caught and blamed. You know, we talk about, like, oh, are the kids gonna remember, you know, the stuff that happened last season so long ago? It's like, well, boy, I hope they remember season 4 when the first Doctor faced the Cybermen. That was 15 years ago. So, but again, they could have rerun it, because I know there were a number of reruns between last season and this season, so yeah.
Now, just in case this doesn't get edited out, while we're watching in the reaction, you may notice that I'm yawning every now and then. It's not because I don't find this entertaining, but the work that we're doing at the theater is keeping us there literally every night. We don't get home till after 11 o'clock, so it does catch up with me sometimes in the afternoon.
Yeah. And I'm sniffling just because it just kind of happened, so dealing with something in there, but anywho. But yeah, so.
Now, I thought, although it was a pretty well-written, very taut-directed episode, I did think there was like 2 or 3 minutes of padding in there with going around and around and around although there's a great location, again, very dark and creepy and very industrial, again, very much like the Alien film, which I think had been released by this time. So again, it's very entertaining. I'm enjoying it. That's just a observation, not a commentary. I'm not commenting on it in a bad way. I'm just observing.
Yeah, I guess it gives you a few minutes to sit with the new crew that now you have to get to know, with the captain and Ringway and everyone. So yeah, but it was a little bit of padding, just sort of walking through the corridor. So, you know, with each episode, the subtitle is changed on what it describes the theme as. So in part 1 it said futuristic, in part 2 it said electronic, this time it said adventurous.
And still not as good as the original.
True.
Oh, they're gift wrapped.
If I'm late delivering my cargo, I not only lose my bonus, but I have to pay a heavy fine.
The story about the bomb is true. Whoever planted it is now in your hold.
I will not stop this shit.
You've got clearance through to Earth. That's where they want to go. You're giving them safe passage.
Position your men on the high walkway. What's down there stays there.
Yes, Captain.
Field is reducing.
There's one thing about Doctor Who. They make sure you know that capitalism will be there in the future.
It's interesting they don't all walk in lockstep.
What are they? Cybermen.
Are they robots?
Far worse. You must withdraw your men. They don't stand a chance.
Neither will we if those things get up here.
You know, it's interesting. The Cybermen have actual guns this time, not just their headpiece.
This slaughter is pointless.
Your crew is redundant. The Cybermen will soon be in command.
You traitor!
It's the Cybermen's way.
They must have paid you a lot for this.
I bet it isn't in gold.
Shut up.
Cybermen are rather allergic to the stuff brings them out in a cold sweat. Berger, where's Berger?
Ah, look out!
Oh, good job.
I think Mr. Ringway is recovering.
Pity. I've just composed a particularly nasty epitaph for him.
Kick him.
While he's down.
Now?
I want that second one just a bit closer.
Come back!
Ooh. Good job, Tegan.
Take risks like that again.
No!
I mean, yeah.
My army awaits, Doctor!
Alrighty.
Well, again, not a lot to comment on, but it's very action-oriented. It's been a while since we've seen one this action-oriented.
Yeah. You know, I don't get Ringway. Like, come on, man. What do you expect? And this is all... He did all of this based on... He gets picked on by his boss. A, you could transfer ships. You could go get a different job. B... Like, there are many things you can do before selling out your entire planet to a group of cybernetic murderers.
Of course, he may not understand all that. You know, he, again, motivated by capitalism.
I guess. If they promised him something, so... Yeah, which, I mean, it's the standard sort of... At first I thought... Oh no, he's just losing it, you know, that he was going to be like Hindle in Kind. It's like, oh, he's just losing it, and he's going against them. It's like, no, he's specifically a traitor, and he's with the Cybermen. But, yeah, honestly, which, I mean, that's the same thing as, what was it, Tomb of the Cybermen, where they thought they could work with the Cybermen, and it's just, no, it's not a thing you can do, so... It does make me curious, though, like, because we saw all the previous Cyberman episodes as flashbacks or, you know, on the view screen that the Cybermen have. So this is past all of those points, but it makes you wonder if every Cyberman story is in sequential chronological order, you know? So it would have just been... in the 80s, they said, when they left Mondas to try to invade Earth, with that whole thing, which I still don't fully understand how Mondas worked. It's a thing of like it kept like growing and expanding, and it was like sucking away all their energy. I don't know. That was a long time ago anyway. So, but then you had that. But then there were the other Cybermen on Telos, which was Tomb of the Cybermen. But were those the same Mondasian Cybermen? I guess. I don't know. There's a whole string of things. So, I mean, I guess it's the same thing, you know, whenever we're like, you know, when does this Dalek story take place? Or, you know, trying to understand the Master's timeline. It's just don't. Just go in and enjoy the story. And to that end, I do enjoy the story. So, this is a pretty good Cyberman episode. So, this time it just said Doctor Who theme. So,
What was that? I don't know. A robot. They're huge.
they do have to find the tallest people in England to cast as Cybermen. That's probably why they don't come around too often.
Is it the first time anybody's actually died on the TARDIS? On the TARDIS?
I don't know.
No! Such a reaction is not a disadvantage.
No.
You are mistaken. I now have control over you, Doctor. All I need do is threaten the woman's death for you to obey me. At least we have two of their weapons.
You know, the funny thing is, he doesn't think he can control the Doctor with Adric.
You two will remain on the bridge. Should any of the crew attempt to interfere with navigational equipment, they are to be restrained.
Why don't you kill us now?
I want my guards to observe your reactions.
That's sadistic.
No, scientific. If we are to fight Earthlings, it is better we understand their weaknesses.
I love an episode where humans have to fight Cybermen and Santarans at the same time. It's a good thing we kept them around.
Lieutenant Scott, Captain. We will follow the freighter to Earth. I wish to witness the planet's final destruction.
You ruin your own plan doing that. The radar on Earth will pick up the TARDIS.
It's too small. Its image will be swamped by that of the freighter.
Everything is being considered.
Search this ship.
And you'll never see that Cyberman again.
We're traveling backwards in time.
That's not possible.
It is when you have an alien machine overriding your computer.
It's convenient.
You will board the freighter.
I can't.
Adric!
You board!
Come on, lad!
And that is an order, Adric.
Of course, that's it!
Do you recall the fossil dinosaur bones in the cave on Earth?
What?
And why it's believed they died out so quickly?
Earth collided with a meteorite.
Or something.
The freighter?
The antimatter vessel will split open on impact. There will be a tremendous explosion.
The freighter was the meteorite?
It seems inevitable.
It
As
was
sure
the
as
something.
we know it.
Now you'll be congested. You know what? Necessity. We'll give him the pass on that. Woo!
Adric!
Doctor!
Alrighty. Well, Adric died as he lived. A stubborn idiot. Quick note before the discussion starts. I want to go ahead and amend a point before all the comments come after me, but still leave comments for the algorithm and everything, you know? But anyway, so I brought up a point that Adric didn't need to stay behind in the, in the freighter as it was hurtling towards Earth, and while technically that's true, he didn't need to. Obviously, he didn't know it. He knew he had gone back in time, but he didn't know to where like they knew on the TARDIS. So, to him, he was obviously still trying to protect the Earth, but yeah. So, I'm gonna clown on Adric a little bit in the discussion, which I know is a fun pastime for Doctor Who fans, but this time, he doesn't fully deserve it, so. 'Cause, you know, now watching this a second time and understanding more, he could have left, and everything, it still would have happened, and he'd be alive. Yeah.
Well, I mean, other than Katarina, have we ever had one of the companions die? And I mean, she wasn't even really a companion.
Lasted all 4 episodes.
Yeah. And the colonel, major, captain, whoever that was, who aged. She never actually, I don't think, was a companion on the TARDIS, but she was in like 4 episodes in one of the big Dalek things, I think, because the Daleks were trying to do something with reversing time and or going forward in time.
Well, she was just shot out of a airlock.
No, that was Katarina.
Yeah, but and then the other person. I don't remember the character's name, but
yeah,
she hardly qualified as a companion just because she only lasted for that episode.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but now Adric, which it's not like, okay, an interesting way of going in that, you know, he was part of the meteorite, the something that hit the Earth and destroyed the dinosaurs, but
well, I mean, I'm sure they think of him as a hero in that he diverted it from the modern day time, the 26th century, and took it back to a time where it had a normal impact on Earth's history.
That's the thing, is that he, by solving that first logic puzzle, he was able to send the ship back in time. So he did save the day there, but when they were evacuating onto the escape pod, he could have left and the ship would have remained on course and it would have been fine. Unless I'm missing something. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Maybe in the comments you can let me know. Am I missing something? Adric didn't need to die there necessarily, but he did go out a hero.
Yeah.
So, it's something. It's just not, you know.
Now, it makes me wonder, because we have not seen the following episode. Does the Doctor somehow manage to get the captain, Briggs, Beryl, I guess that's Beryl Reed, the older woman, and the people back to their time period, or is that a loose end that never gets tied up?
I assume, I don't know if they would show it, but at the very least I would imagine there is a line next episode of, we got everyone back to the 26th century, and now we're off to do something. Probably, my guess is we're off to go be depressed next episode. Like I can't imagine, especially Tegan and Nyssa, just catching a big old case of depression after Adric's death. So, and to its credit, that is a big moment, and yeah, the fact that, you know, the only other real companion death we've had is Katarina, and that hardly qualifies anyway, because she hardly qualifies as a companion. So, So yeah, that is a big deal, and I don't know, like, it's interesting giving that kind of character death to Adric. Like, you don't just drop him off somewhere, you don't do anything. It's that the writers specifically killed him unless they're thinking, okay, we want to get rid of Matthew Waterhouse. We don't want any possibility that he will come back. So, let's... Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure why they went with that specifically.
And, again, there's just a possibility. If he had figured it out and then managed to get one of the escape pods, I'm assuming there's more than one, and then as it crashed, he could then just say, Doctor, I'm taking this ship and I'm going to take it back to Warrior's Gate or the
E-Space.
Yeah. CVE, whatever that is.
Yeah, I guess because if it was something like he was able to use the cyber technology to get back to E-Space, then maybe. Or, I mean, even if you had just gone with the same death, but he has to stay behind and do all 3 of the logic circuits to make sure that it crashes and kills all the dinosaurs and everything. That's fine, but it seemed that everything was done and he could have just gotten in the escape pod and left, but he stayed behind because he was compelled to solve the puzzle. So I don't know. I get it. I get what they're going for. It still does work. It's just that it's that last little thing there. Yeah. So yeah, and I would be curious to the maybe not necessarily the fan reaction, but the fan reaction at the time to Adric's death, because I mean I don't know how many people were a fan of Adric. That's the thing. Obviously, most of the crew, most of the cast weren't fans of Adric, but I would be curious what the sentiment was over Adric's death. Yeah. Back in the day, so yeah, interesting stuff, definitely. And I mean, even just on Adric's character, so we've now seen the whole run of Adric's character from Full Circle to Earthshock, and what I don't even know if I can say he's really a divisive companion, because that implies that half of the people like him and the other half don't. Yeah. It seems it's more just on the don't. Overall, he's alright. He's okay. I think a lot of it does come from the off-screen relationship with him and the other actors, but I will say he definitely worked better with the 4th Doctor than the 5th Doctor, and I think either that's part of the characterization or the performance. It's just that, maybe Tom Baker was better at hiding it, or the 4th Doctor was just written better that way, but he really did not gel with the 5th Doctor. So, and to be fair, neither does Tegan really. Yeah. Like, it really does feel like it should just be Nyssa and the 5th Doctor, so maybe that's not even all on Adric per se, but he definitely worked. He worked better with the 4th Doctor. He worked a little bit better with Romana as well, but I don't know. On the whole, for a character we've had now nearly 2 seasons, he's not awful, but I do kind of get it. So, let's see. As for the other stuff, I mean, this is all on top of, the Cybermen returning. I hope that they come back again. I have no idea if they come back again after this. So yeah, I don't know, but it was nice to see them. I think this was a really good portrayal of the Cybermen.
But they are very different in that the leader, especially, had a personality. I mean, they weren't just robotic. The fact that he kept using the word excellent. I don't think the previous Cybermen spoke in terms of good, bad, excellent, whatever.
Yeah, there's... Because, I mean, they do go into denying emotions and getting rid of all of that, but there is some sort of... I don't know, there's this air of arrogance or pride in what he is, but it's a strange thing, because, the Cybermen shouldn't have that. They should be, honestly, more like just the previous versions of the Cybermen that we've seen, just all logic, all this, we will, eradicate humans and everything. Well, even just the fact that the plan, at no point do they talk about conversion at all. Now, I don't fully remember how much they've talked about converting people to being Cybermen in the previous stories, but you would think it's like, well, you're kind of getting rid of like a really good source of new Cybermen, and they hardly go into the fact that they are partially organic, and I mean, obviously they're more machine now than man, but they don't really go into that at all. But it's an interesting thing, and it's kind of a shame that the cyber leader died, because he has a personality and everything. It makes him a more interesting character, and I could see more with him. They do a similar thing during the 13th Doctor's era, where they have someone who is a Cyberman, but like, part of his helmet, metallic head is broken off, and you can see the man underneath it. And he has more of a personality than most Cybermen. He's a really, really interesting character. So I would like that, because honestly, of, I guess, the sort of big three villains of Doctor Who, you have the Daleks, you have the Master, and you have the Cybermen. The Cybermen almost feel the least represented, or the least expanded upon. So, because, now granted, I say that, and then you look at the Master and the Daleks, and it's like, well, there's only so far you can, especially the Daleks, there's only so far you can take them, but there are some interesting things later. And then the Master is always the exact same thing every time. It's the only reason the Master works is the performance, and definitely Roger Delgado and now Anthony Ainley are sort of, they do bring that next level to make the Master work so well. So, but the Cybermen, I do kind of want a bit more. And so, this is, what is this, the 5th or 6th Cybermen episode? So we had the 10th Planet, we had Tomb of the Cybermen, Wheel in Space.
Wasn't there one like the Invasion of the Cybermen?
Invasion of the Cybermen, that was good, yeah. There were 3 episodes with the second Doctor. There were none with the third Doctor, and then we had Revenge of the Cybermen with the 4th Doctor. So this is the 6th story that we've had with the Cybermen, and I would love to see more of them, honestly. I'm hoping that there is more, because I feel like the last time I said that was the Ice Warriors, and I don't think they're coming back. So the Ice Warriors I might put as like a number 4 slot for the Doctor's greatest villains, I guess. So or at least greatest recurring villains, because there are certainly one-offs like Omega or someone who are really good villains. So and I did like that moment where you get to see the previous Doctors. Again, it does highlight, there is no episode with the 3rd Doctor, so you can't really do anything there. You're just going to have to deal with 1, 2, and 4, but that was nice.
But 3 had several, or at least 2 with the Autons, didn't he?
Yeah, he did have 2 with the Autons, but...
And kind of surprising that they introduced the Autons, but then we haven't seen them since.
Yeah, so they were in Spearhead from Space and then Terror of the Autons. That's only 2 episodes. So,
and then Baker didn't have any of them, did he?
No. Yeah, we haven't seen them since. And I guess, in our sort of pantheon of reoccurring Doctor Who villains, I would also probably put the Sontarans there. And honestly, with this episode, it kind of felt like they borrowed a couple notes from the Sontaran stories, where it's like, we want to stay and observe some of these emotions and everything, because we have to understand human weakness. Even though they're going to destroy the Earth, there'll still be a lot of humans around. You know, it's not like Krypton. You blow it up and somehow it's just Superman left. But yeah. So I did kind of like that, and it honestly makes me want to see a bit more. Like, you know what? Doctor Who never does a war, really, and not on screen, really, because they always hint at a war. There's a cyber war, there's a Sontaran war, the Daleks, you know, the Time War, which, you know, later is just completely off screen. You know, maybe you'll get it in the audios and stuff, but there's always like one specific, you know, plan that's going on, and I kind of want to see a bit more of like a war, and maybe throw the Doctor into there. You know, you could probably base an entire season off of that. You know, it's like, well, we've got 7 stories, you know, we could divide them up into different things, but let's just, one story, it's just a really long story where we go back and forth throughout, you know, one of these wars. That could be kind of interesting. So, I say that would prevent a historical episode, which is counterintuitive for me, but that's beside the point. And you're definitely right with the alien influences just on the captain, and, you know, oh, we gotta do this to keep our bonus. And I don't know why now, 19 seasons in, I'm like, well, there's a lot of capitalism in the future. Like, it's not really the optimistic future that the British are trying to give us here, which is fine. It still makes for interesting stories and interesting, you know, dilemmas. Like, well, they have to keep this ship going, but it's just an interesting comparison between this and, you know, you go over to Star Trek and it's like, well, we've eliminated money, we've eliminated all that stuff, and it's all about the exploration, and if there's the evils of capitalism, well, that's on this other planet that we got to go deal with. So
the Ferengi. Yeah,
something like that. Whereas Doctor Who is like, no, you gotta do this. I remember there is an episode with the 12th Doctor where it's specifically like when the TARDIS lands on this spaceship, there's no oxygen or anything, and so he just sort of opens the TARDIS and lets oxygen into this ship, and then it gets all sucked out again, and they have to put on spacesuits because, well, oxygen costs money in the future. And it's a very, you know, heavy-handed capitalist episode, but it's a really good episode. So, but definitely you're right, which I am kind of glad, because we kind of talk about some Star Wars influences on the show. It is kind of nice to see other bits of sci-fi influencing Doctor Who, like Alien. So it's just, instead of what's the alien called in Alien? Like a xenomorph or something?
Xenomorph,
yeah. Instead of that, it's a lot of really tall Cybermen. And again, it's got to be that casting call of, we have to find the tallest people in the country, which is also a problem because every time you do that, you have to be taller than the Doctor, who's always ridiculous. At least for the last 3, he's been really tall. So
yeah, the first 2 were not really tall, especially Troughton. I think Troughton was probably the shortest.
Yeah,
but Hartnell wasn't very tall either.
Yeah, so yeah, let's see. We did have the whole thing with Ringway. I completely forgot about that he was... Because, see, at first I thought it was going to be a thing of like, well, you know, he's very stuck up and he doesn't like the way the captain's doing things and stuff, so he's just going to betray them, or he's going to deal with the Cybermen. But no, it's just that, well, I mean, he did betray them to the Cybermen, though. I do like, though, that it's like, okay, so we need a traitor. Are we going to dwell on that? No. Like, we don't go into his motivation. We don't go into, like, well, what did they promise you for all of this? It's just, no, he's a traitor. That happened. We move on. So, and then everything else is just, you know, the ship becoming a bomb, and then Adric. Somehow, I don't understand how this logic device did send them back in time, but it worked out.
I thought because it increased the speed, or somehow put them into a different kind of warp than a movement warp. It was also a time warp.
Yeah, something like that. And then Adric, and again, to his credit, he did save the Earth and sent the ship back in time, but he didn't need to stay there in the end. But oh well. But yeah, a bit of a... It's a good... if you're going to give the character a death, it's certainly a good heroic death, which is interesting for a character that they didn't like anyway, that they gave him such a heroic death. But it was also a death. The fact that they did decide, no, we're going to kill Adric. But it's better than, in episode 2, he got shot by a Cyberman. Oh, well, I guess that's the end of Adric. It's certainly better than, like Dodo's exit, where it's like, oh, she's just stay behind. She just wanted to send you a message that she's going to stay here. And it's like, oh. All right, then.
Yeah, we didn't even really see her exit.
No, she was just, like, left in one episode, and then they just did not bring the actor back. So yeah. And yeah, I have no idea if the Cybermen are coming back. I hope they do. So.
All right, and what's up next?
Next up is Time Flight. Which I actually... the person who corrected me about there being one more episode or story in this season was like, oh, you forgot about Time Flight. But it's okay, because I think most of the fandom wishes they could forget about Time Flight. So we're in for a good one, I'm sure. A good strong episode to round out season 19. But yeah. You got anything else?
I got nothing.
Alright. Then that is basically it. With all that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist for all of our Doctor Who classic reactions, as well as another video or playlist or whatever is on the screen. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.